All right, welcome Vicksburg. It's Monday, June 30th, 7 o'clock. We'll call to order our village council regular session for the Navy. If you all join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take a brief moment of silence. And Christian, would you do a roll call, please?
Trustee Fields.
Here.
Trustee Wagner.
Here.
Trustee Reister.
Here.
Trustee Cox.
Here.
Trustee Kissinger.
Here.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Here.
President Frisbee.
Here. We have an agenda in front of us. Was there any changes or additions? Trustees, additions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
President Frisbee, I believe we had the fourth quarter budget amendments to add to the consent agenda.
Add that at 10E.
10 for motion, do you have support?
I'll move as amended.
Second.
We can do a voice. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries, thank you. We have no scheduled appearances. We have a public official in the audience tonight if they'd so choose to speak. Seeing none, now's the time. Now's the time for citizens' comments for agenda items only, if anyone so chooses to speak. Seeing none, I'm going to pass on comments till the end. We have an approval of general consent agenda, our minutes from our regular council meeting June 16, 2025, our warrant reports, event requests, Ashley Revore 8th birthday party, Schoolcraft High School reunion, and Harvest Festival. We had no correspondence and 2024-2025 full year budget amendments.
Make a motion to approve.
Support.
We have a motion of support. You do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Cox.
Yes.
Trustee Kissinger.
Yes.
Trustee Reister.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Fields.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. So, all right, the real reason we're here tonight, item 11, Village Council Action Items 2025-2026 fiscal year budget presentation and public hearing.
Mr. President, I move that we go into public hearing for the 25-26 fiscal year budget.
Trustee Wagner has support.
We have motion of support. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Kissinger.
Yes.
Trustee Reister.
Yes.
Trustee Cox.
Yes.
Trustee Fields.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Turn it over to Manager Mallory.
Yes, sir. Dear Honorable Village President, Village Council trustees, employees, and our community. As we look ahead to the fiscal year 2025-2026, it is clear that the Village of Vicksburg is continuing a transformation into a model municipality of our size, which is committed to engaging in best practices. Our collective efforts to balance immediate needs with long-term stability have positioned us to continue to be recognized as one of the fastest, most progressive small communities in the state of Michigan. I'd like to begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to our entire staff for their unwavering commitment to the Village of Vicksburg, and specifically to our leadership team for their integrity, work ethic, and the manner in which they lead their respective departments. In accordance with the Charter of the Village of Vicksburg and the requirements set forth under Michigan law, I'm pleased to present to you the proposed budget for the 25-26 fiscal year, which begins July 1st, 2025, and concludes on June 30th, 2026. This budget reflects the village's continued commitment to responsible fiscal stewardship, strategic investment in public infrastructure, and the prioritization of services that improve the quality of life for our residents and businesses. It was developed through a collaborative process involving all departments and guided by the goals established by the village council. Key highlights of the 25-26 fiscal year budget include a balanced budget that maintains a healthy fund balance, ensures long-term sustainability, and aligns with the capital improvement plan. Continued investment in infrastructure improvements, including streets, water, and sewer systems. Sustained funding for public safety services and community development efforts. Funding for an additional Vicksburg police officer. Operation and leadership support for Angels Crossing Golf Club, including efficiencies in management and programming aligned with council priorities. Support for the Berg family events and other placemaking initiatives that enhance community identity and economic vitality. The document is not only a financial plan, but also a statement of our shared values as a community. It supports the village mission to provide high-quality municipal services while fostering an environment where residents, visitors, and businesses can thrive. I want to express my appreciation to the village staff, department leaders, and financial team for their dedication to assembling a transparent and responsible budget. I look forward to working with the village council as we finalize and adapt this plan. The Village of Vicksburg finished the 24-25 fiscal year by completing a substantial infrastructure project, a $3.1 million project that replaced all water mains and 110 residential connections within a 16 square block area north of Vicksburg Middle School. The project received a $1.2 million grant from Kalamazoo County that reduced the financial burden on our local residents and businesses by over 38%. The Village of Vicksburg has now replaced approximately 215 out of approximately 575 residential waterline connections since the 2018 Michigan legislature required all municipalities to address prior to the calendar year 2038. The 24-25 fiscal year also witnessed the Village of Vicksburg initiating a Parks and Recreation Master Plan due this December 2025, as well as a complete branding plan, which is due in October 2025, with outside consultants leading the endeavors. An emphasis was placed on the village, creating an economic impact on our core downtown businesses throughout the year. The highlight of the 24-25 fiscal year was the continuation of events held within our downtown throughout the year. The foundational purpose for these events is to draw individuals to our downtown to be exposed to our unique local retail shops, restaurants, pubs, and distilleries. There were multiple events, including the Iceberg Fest in February, the Half Birthday Celebration in May, Vicksburg's Old Car Festival. Berg Days this summer have been initiated this summer. The Senior Berg Day will commence for the third time this September, and always concluding with the Christmas in the Berg in December. The total number of downtown visitors to all of these events was estimated at over 75,000 individuals. 24-25 fiscal year witnessed the first ever Citizens Academy in the Village of Vicksburg, a 6-week course highlighting governmental operations for 15 citizens who volunteered for the program. Communication with the public we serve was enhanced by TextMeGov and direct email distribution system, which have over 1,500 individuals subscribed. We added a part-time position to handle our social media presence and have grown our Facebook followers to over 8,500 and initiated an Instagram page that has over 370 followers in just a few months. For the 4th year in a row, the village co-sponsored a Reading in the Park program in which the entire staff of the village read to over 175 youth who were divided into small 8 to 10 person groups in our historic village. After reading to the groups for an hour, the youth were treated to a Touch-a-Truck event. The Village of Vicksburg continues to be one of the fastest growing communities in southwest Michigan. There were over 60 new residential homes built in the village during the past year, and the Village Council approved a new neighborhood development which will see an additional 110 residential homes built in the future. The Village of Vicksburg oversaw and managed $500,000 to continue a housing improvement grant program for owner-occupied homes based on a percentage of poverty-level income data. There have been 22 residential properties that have participated in the program with nearly $400,000 worth of investments made. For the second year, the village continued to honor our local military heroes with a downtown military banner program, which grew from 19 to 27 participants being honored on banners throughout our core downtown this year. The development of the 25-26 fiscal year budget foundation will continue to keep the positive momentum of the village progressing forward. Village of Vicksburg operates on a set of financial controls that are established by state law and detailed in the village ordinances. All local governments are required to prepare and administer an annual balanced budget. How well the village has performed in administrating the budget is then reviewed at the end of the fiscal year by an independent auditor. The village has a track record of excellence in budgeting and fiscal management since 2016. Vicksburg has repeatedly received comment-free audits, and during each public presentation, outside independent auditors have praised the village's financial team for their performance in financial management of the budget. Like any good business, we develop a detailed plan in order to maintain a financially sound and stable village. It continues to be our philosophy to not incur any general fund tax debt and to pay for our capital items with cash via sound financial savings plan. How the budget is structured. The village budget has two main components, a general fund and non-general fund. In order to fully understand how the village finances its products and programs, it's important to understand the difference. The general fund, our taxpayer dollars, are deposited in the general fund along with state shared revenue, franchise fees, business license fees, interest income, and miscellaneous revenues, and beginning cash balances. This portion of the budget consists largely of discretionary funds, since the village council and village manager can allocate the funds to programs and services in any area. In other words, there are few restrictions on how these resources may be allocated. General fund dollars are used to support such village services as our Department of Public Works, Vicksburg Police Department, membership in the South Kalamazoo County Fire Authority, and Vicksburg Parks and Recreation, as well as planning, community development, and administrative support services. All other funds, often referred to as dedicated funds, the non-discretionary funds include enterprise funds such as wastewater and water rates, Angels Crossing Golf Course, grants and donations, contract revenues, and other revenues specifically dedicated to a particular purpose. Other specifically dedicated revenues would be the major and local road funds, commonly referred to as Act 51, Downtown Development Authority, and Brownfield Development. The revenue from these departments is restricted to only being used for the purposes outlined in the state of Michigan statutes for each. Budget process. It's a recommended budget in accordance with the Village of Vicksburg Charter and Ordinance. The village manager shall prepare and submit it to the village council prior to July 1 of each calendar year, a recommended budget including the following information. 1. Detailed estimates with a supporting explanation of all proposed expenditures for each department, office, and agency or subunit of the village, showing the expenditures for corresponding items for the last preceding fiscal year in full and for the current fiscal year to June 26, 2025, and to estimated expenditures for the balance of the current fiscal year as were presented in the fourth quarter amendments in the consent agenda. 2, detailed estimates of all anticipated revenues to the village from sources other than taxes with a comparative statement of the amounts received by the village from each of the same or similar sources for the last preceding fiscal year in full, and for the current fiscal year to June 25, 2025, and estimated revenues for the balance of the current fiscal year, which were presented in the fourth quarter amendments. Such other supporting information as the council may request. Budget review and adoption. The next step in the budget process is to place the recommended budget on file for the public to review and set the date for the required public hearing, which is contained under Michigan Public Act 43 of 1963. This has been scheduled for tonight, Monday, June 30th, 2025 at 7 p.m. The packet contains the notice where it was publicly posted in MLive with the receipt of such. The village council may then choose to adopt the budget at the same meeting following the public hearing, which we are currently in. In accordance with the Village of Vicksburg Charter, the budget must be approved by the village council no later than the last day of June. Village of Vicksburg publishes within 6 months of the close of each fiscal year a complete set of financial statements presented in conformity with the generally accepted accounting principles and audited in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards by a firm of a licensed certified public accountants. The results of the financial audit are presented at the Village Council public meeting in January of each year. Highlights for fiscal year 25-26. Total general fund revenues are estimated to be approximately $2.9 million and associated expenses of approximately $2.4 million. The continued focus on a beautification throughout the village, specifically our village park system, core downtown, gateways into the village, and the grounds of the historic village. The completion of the comprehensive Parks and Recreation Master Plan. The completion of the rebranding effort for the Village of Vicksburg, including a brand new website. Initiating a process to complete a comprehensive Downtown Development Authority Master Plan for our core downtown. Holding the second annual Citizens Academy on Local Government in October 2025. Commitment to financial transparency with the continuation of the Vicksburg financial transparency data on our website, live streaming all governmental board meetings, and having all videos, minutes, and other important information archived on our website for easy access for everyone. A wage increase, continued top-tier benefits, a one-time HSA payment, and merit pay for employees that is in alignment with similar municipalities. In excess of $275,000 in cash investments into our road system. Nearly $100,000 of investments in our Parks and Recreation Department, repairing multiple buildings in the historic village, beautification of perennial flowers, and new picnic tables in Clark Park and Sunset Lake Park. Adding an officer to our village police department that will continue to be fully staffed 24 hours, 7 days a week. A team focused on delivering WOW service based on a procedural justice mindset. Continuation of a school resource officer in partnership with the Vicksburg Community Schools. Continuation of a downtown events throughout the year to have a positive impact on our local economy. Continuation of a property improvement grant program for businesses within our DDA district. Continuation of the lead line replacement program by announcing tonight securing a $4.1 million federal direct spending grant with the assistance of Representative Tim Wahlberg. This project will place all the water mains and lead lines for 170 residential properties while reducing the financial burden of the project on our utility users by over 80%. Initiate the complete redesign and begin construction on the main municipal parking lot behind the commercial properties on the west side of South Main Street. This $1.2 million project has a $635,000 grant match from the state of Michigan, MEDC, and the village will use $350,000 from our remaining ARPA funds to assist with the match. This project will replace all underground infrastructure as well as create incredible parking, green space, and environmental conscious area that will serve the community for the next 100 years. Continuation of storing historical documents electronically for records retention and accessibility for citizens we serve. Staff is recommending a motion, support, and roll call vote to approve the 2025-2026 fiscal year budget as presented during your regular meeting. We have a comprehensive budget package that has been presented to the council, and it will be, upon approval of this budget, placed on our website this week for anyone's viewing to be. And I'm happy to answer any questions as we're still in public hearing.
It's a pretty nice budget. Yeah. We'll take this time to open it up to citizens, if there's any citizens' comments. Seeing none, open it up.
being called in, yeah. If you were alive, we'd find you right now.
Hearing none from the citizens, I'd entertain any council trustees would like to comment?
I would just like to say that I asked Jim to give me this ahead of time because I have a problem reading off from the computer. And so it took me quite a while to read through this, but I was very impressed with the way he had set it up. I understood it, which I think was really good. And so I appreciate all the work that went into this presentation. Thank you so much.
Any others?
You obviously enjoyed your new program.
I did.
I think this will help this community as the years, especially as the data gets developed in it. That's going to even make it more cohesive. But as always, Mr. Marler, you've done a top-notch job of putting this budget together. For those out there watching this tonight, a lot of discussion. You know, if you want to see what was discussed, I'd ask you to go back to the last 3 meetings, because every one of them had budget items and line items that we've discussed. So all that information, all that discussion's there for record. No further trustees' comments?
Just reflecting really quickly, looking at the numbers, looking at the graphs and just the numbers, even at a bird's eye view, after reviewing the line items, the fiscal health of this community is really impressive. It's a stand above many in our locale, and I can say that with authority. And I just appreciate the commitment, again, to the fiscal responsibility that sets this on a trajectory for a lot more improvement, positivity of future plans that we may want to have. So I just say thank you to the village manager, the staff, and just this board for continuing to build the trajectory of success. We have great things to do, and we'll continue to do them.
I will clarify that for the council, the motion, support, and roll call vote on approving the 25-26 fiscal year budget is actually formally approving the resolution 06-30-2025-2, which is the resolution establishing the 25-26 Vicksburg, Village of Vicksburg operating budget.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the resolution, and I didn't write the number down, so 06-30-2025-2 as presented.
Maybe a Chippewa,
Well
I could
done.
figure the date.
Support.
Is that what it is? We have motion to support. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Kissinger,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Cox,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Motion carries. We'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to support. You do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Kissinger,
Yes.
Trustee Cox,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. So we're back in our regular session on the Wilson Street Catch Basin Resolution.
This is a resolution through the Drain Commissioner in Kalamazoo County as it relates to the repair work at Wilson Street. The calculated percentage that the village has is 37.5% for the project. It will not impact any type of rate structure. We have that saved. So it's a formality as part of the Drain Commissioner's requirements that we put this in front of the council with our recommendations of a motion, support, and roll call vote for that resolution to move that project forward.
This one is -3.
I think it's -1, isn't it? Yeah. I think it's 06-30-2025-1.
Figured 3 would come afterwards. Mr. President, I move that we approve the resolution as submitted, 06-30-25-1.
Support.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, Jim, how soon are they gonna move on this, do you know?
I think it's all lined up to, I would hope, by the end of July.
Thank you.
If it's at our meeting in July, I'll update you, but it should be moving forward. I know they've selected the contractor.
Any other questions, comments? Would you do a roll call, please, Christian?
Trustee Kissinger.
Yes.
Trustee Reister.
Yes.
Trustee Cox.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Fields.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Takes us to the fire station roof funding.
Yes, we're putting this in front of the council. We believe it's important. The council did support an analysis on the roof that was overseen by Frederick Construction, Mike Frederick and his team, as well as supported and fully funded the public bid process. We had secured those bids. We had looked at some different funding options, but it is our recommendation for a motion, support, and approval to fund the replacement of the fire station roof. Frederick Construction would continue to oversee the project, and it is estimated the project will not exceed $150,000, and that the South Kalamazoo County Fire Authority will propose at their July meeting to pay 33%, not to exceed $50,000. And our recommendation is here tonight that we make a motion, support, and roll call vote to approve up to the $150,000 to replace the roof at the fire station building. Pending South County Fires Board vote, we will be reimbursed up to the $50,000 upon their approval. If the request is not approved, I have every confidence it will be, but if it's not, we will then be forced to increase the rent to offset the expenses of the roof. But it will be funded with general fund dollars that we do have saved and won't impact the fund balance. So.
Make a motion to approve?
Support.
We have motion to support. Any further discussion?
Just so the board understands, I look at this as a measure of good faith by the village towards the fire authority, because whether you know or not, the current lease is in limbo. The new lease, that we're working on an expired lease, mainly because of this roof, to figure out how this is going to get taken care of. The lease does state that the tenant is responsible for all repairs. However, I give credit to Manager Mallory for basically taking the bull by the horns and saying, look, you know, let's just get this done and we'll shake it out. The good news, as I said, it's a, in my opinion, it's a measure of good faith by the village towards the fire authority that, look, you know, we're going to step up, so hopefully it'll put to rest any rumors or anything out there that the village is looking to kick the fire authority out of that station currently. You know, that old news, but I mean, it'll show that the village wants to work with the fire authority. So I do appreciate Jim's help on this. And we did look into other options, and unfortunately, that roof isn't getting any better. It's getting worse by the day. We need to get it done, so
Do we own the building, correct?
we own the building.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm pretty confident that the board will approve this in July, even though my rookie is gonna be pinch hitting for me that night, but I'm sure he'll be well briefed.
Is that on my calendar?
It's on your calendar.
Any further discussion? Well, we have a motion to support. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Cox.
Yes.
Trustee Fields.
Yes.
Trustee Reister.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Kissinger.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. All right.
We put it up on the screen.
Somehow I think it didn't make it to the second page, so that takes us to our village manager report.
Yeah, as you can see there, we've completed 2 of the Berg days with using up one of the makeup dates in August. But the first Berg days, we had about 3,500 people or devices in town. And the last one was just shy of 3,000, which, so good. We get nothing but great feedback from businesses and the vendor, food trucks and the like. So very happy with the way that's going. The water main project over north of the middle school is in, we have required the contractor to replace one section of the new water main. It hadn't been hooked up yet, but so that, we gave them, I think, 2 weeks to have that completed, as we've exhausted what time that was supposed to be done with. So, and then we've have a meeting coming up next week that will be focused on restoration and final punch ticket items before any final payment is made. As we talked about in the public hearing, we did receive support from our Congressman Tim Wahlberg. Some might remember I flew back in March to work on submitting that project. So we've got his support. It will go through the August combined, both Senate and in the House, do the final cross I's and dot T's, but it is part of one of the 15 projects he is supporting. So important to get a presidential signature on that federal budget, and then we'll move forward with that project. So that's pretty good. We did submit, tomorrow's the deadline, we submitted today, $125,000 grant via the Federal Justice Department COPS hiring program to offset the hiring of the additional police officer, and we'll know by September 30th if we receive the funding. It is a 3-year, so it's $125,000 over the course of 3 years, so 40-some thousand, 41,000 and change each year. But it does, if we do receive that, we would pay the balance each of those 3 years, but we'd also be committed to having that officer on the roster a 4th year as the trade-off for that. So hopefully that goes well, and we'll find out September 30th. So, and be happy to answer any other questions.
I had one comment from somebody who comes to the Berg Days, and they were questioning why there was some of the, all of a sudden the word just won't come to me. I hate when this happens, but it happens.
Tables.
Anyway, tables that are reserved, and they're wondering why we have reserved tables down there.
The only reserved tables are for the platinum sponsored who contribute in excess of $5,000 to fund to fund
Okay.
it.
And I didn't know how to answer that. She said, but most of the time, nobody's sitting there, and we're trying to find a place to
Yeah,
sit.
yeah, and if no one's sitting there, by all means,
I did do that
Yeah.
last time. I thought, there's nobody using this.
Said in my town?
Yeah, right. But I just had a question about
yep,
that.
yep,
so-
that's the reason.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of Jim? Well, hearing none, we'll move on to some committee reports. Tree Committee.
Nothing tonight.
I like that, what they're doing with the water bags around the trees they're putting in. And I had an opportunity to cruise around the village the other day, and then, and if you're not really looking for them, you don't see them, but yeah, some really nice placed trees, and that's great. I appreciate what you're doing there.
We can update, the tree committee is incredibly efficient because they called today, thinking today was the start of the new budget, if they could buy new trees. We asked as politely as we could to pump the brakes and please wait 24 hours.
Money's not meant to go first.
To all the other committees, you've been beat out by the tree committee.
Parks and Rec?
We had our first movie night in the park on June 20th. It was a huge success. Lots of kids, everybody had a good time. The next movie in the park is July 11th. The movie is Frozen. So there will be a snowball fight beforehand. I think a little sing-along action going on. So put that on your calendars.
Wendy, was that one of the biggest movies we've had?
You know, it's probably about the same as last year when we did the trick-or-treating. So the first movie that we had was Halloween in June, and the kids dressed up, and we had some local businesses, some local residents that set up tables. The kids got to trick-or-treat through the pavilion before the movie started, and it was very exciting. There was everybody was dressed up in costumes. It was a lot of fun. So definitely a couple hundred people out there on the lawn.
Thank you for that. Next up was cats, so there was some interesting conversation about that, but the county chip and seal on all the county roads are about 30% complete. Well, they got an update from the airport. American brought in a new Embraer 170, which annually increases the seat capacity to 22,000 at the airport. That was good news. The MetroLink, I think I've spoken of it before. It's kind of like the Uber of the bus world. That had, according to the contractor, one of the best releases that they've ever done. Usage rate is up, especially within the college area. I think that was it, but a lot of the big discussion came kind of last minute, where similar discussions we had a couple of meetings ago about the sole sourcing of garbage services. One of the township supervisors brought it up, and that led into a long discussion on it. And then, from my perspective, it was very positive, and everything we talked about, the impacts on the roads, the impact of noise in the community and extra traffic, the cost reduction that they were able to get. So it's out there. There's other communities talking about it, and yeah, it was a good discussion. So we're very positive. Planning Commission.
Already reported June's meeting to us, and
Oh,
we saw
yeah,
it today
we're good,
as the
thanks.
budget.
South County Sewer. Sewer was a good meeting. Mr. Mallory attended with us. We had to go over a few line items, in particular about the pipe that we own going out to Sprinkle Road, how we're going to handle that. So there's some more discussion going on with that. They reported a emergency repair on UV Avenue. There's some debate as to if it was stray current caused the pipe erosion. So they're getting into that, but I had a note, but they're not quite done with their audit yet, but they're about, I think at the next meeting, they'll have their final audit presentation. And of course, we leave the best for last. South County Fire.
Anybody want to take a break before I start, or? You have 3 minutes. No, I don't have 3 minutes. Okay, we've been pretty busy. We're starting to ramp up this last month. We had our normal meeting on June 8th. A lot happened that night. Number one, we were informed that the company that we have the agreement with on the new fire truck, Halt Fire, has sold out to a new company. So they sent basically a letter to us wanting to transfer the agreement from them to, I think it's called Reliance is the new company. We sent it to our new attorney, which the attorney basically sent back and said, we've got some issues with this proposal. So we are sending a red line document back to them. They're aware of that they need to clean up their document a little bit because there was some confusion. There was a performance bond that was purchased for that as well, which I was not aware of at the time, but they wanted to make sure that performance bond was still going to be applicable when it goes to Reliance. So that was the first thing. Second thing, we have entered into a letter of agreement with Jeff Rude. He works for Siegfried Crandall. He was doing our audits. He will now be transitioning and helping us get the authority set up to do our proper budgeting practices that we have not been doing. But he's also going to be doing our quarterly trial balances moving forward. He will not be able to do the audit moving forward because of that, so we will be looking for a new audit firm. So that's something we'll be looking into shortly. We did also get into a letter of engagement with Rod Taylor from Manor, which that should sound familiar because that's the auditing firm we currently have. So possibly they are going to be our auditors moving forward. We'll see. But what they're going to be doing is a 5-year cash analysis projection because we're going from 6 entities down to 4. So we want to see what projected revenues are going to be over the next 5 years and what projected expenditures are going to be over the next 5 years. So, and that came at a fairly reasonable cost. It's less than $5,000 that will be charged for them to do this. And we should have that information by September, which will be very helpful. The biggest news that came out of that meeting, other than we did have 2 firefighters resigned, but then on the flip side, we had 1 that was hired. So that seems to be kind of a flux number at all times. But the biggest news was that we got a letter of resignation from our administrator. It literally came within a half hour of the meeting. And so we were presented, I think I copied every member on this council. I am not going to rehash that. It was very disappointing that occurred, but we are moving forward. So that was the highlights of that meeting. We then had a special meeting this last week, and so we are moving forward. We are we will be posting a listing for a administrator, obviously, moving forward. Immediately after the meeting on the 18th, I got a hold of Manager Mallory and informed him, hey, our administrator resigned, effective immediately. So we met last Tuesday with Jim and Michelle. The village was gracious enough to offer to help us out in the short term. This will not be a long-term agreement, but in the short term. So I know Michelle's been working diligently trying to sift through all the things that the previous administrator, the way she came up with her formulas to pay the firefighters. That's the biggest thing right now is we want to make sure the firefighters get paid, irregardless. And even if we made a decision, even if we overpay them this month, that we'll get it figured out. But we want to make sure they get their checks. So signature cards were taken care of at the Kalamazoo County State Bank. Myself and the secretary representative from Schoolcraft Village are on the cards along with the village president, the authority president. So that's moved forward. We are going to be reaching out for anybody that would like to take notes at the meeting temporarily. Typically, that's the job of the administrator, because the person who is the secretary on the board, she also is an active member of the board, so it's kind of hard for her to take notes and also, give her opinions or whatever. So we're going to be looking for somebody. So if anybody knows an individual that would be interested in taking minutes, let me know. I'll pass that along. And other than that, we will be going to 2 meetings a month, mainly because this meeting we had last week was a special meeting, and we can't add anything. When you have a special meeting, you cannot add anything to the agenda. The issue with the roof came up with Manager Mallory. I couldn't add it. We couldn't add it to the special meeting. So moving forward, we're going to go to 2 meetings a month. I don't know if you knew that, Andy, but that's, there you go. The good news is if we don't have anything on the agenda for that first meeting, we can cancel it. It's not a problem. But I think we'll have plenty to do, so that's my report for right now.
Thanks so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
So I'll open this up to citizens' comments, if there's a time for any citizen to speak, and so.
Uh-oh.
Everybody knows who I am. First, I gotta apologize for not turning my telephone off when I was coming in with Don and we were talking. But the pond on the south side of Prairie Street, is there anything we can do with that to make it look a little nicer? Is it the people's responsibility on,
Well,
Lee?
the construction of the dam is coming up. So after that project's complete, which will be before the conclusion of '26. But what are you talking about specifically, Finance?
oh, it just doesn't look that nice to me with all the lily pads and everything in there. I just was wondering if there was something that,
There's a lake association that would govern that, but the village doesn't have any involvement in
Okay.
any governmental money going towards that.
all right. Then I was questioned a while ago about a senior housing project in Vicksburg. And my thoughts would be a great spot would be the old football field there. Would be an excellent spot if we could get the property from the school. It would be excellent for people to walk uptown. They wouldn't have to have a vehicle or anything, and I think it'd be an ideal spot personally.
That's north of the administration building?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Where the
Yeah,
old
that
softball field was.
Used to be the football field.
Way back.
Yeah, before most of your time. But it was. And I don't think they're using it for very much. I haven't seen anything, a few practices maybe down there or something like that, but might be something to think about.
Thanks,
Thank
Bill.
you.
Thank you, Bill.
So it takes us to trustees' time. I'll start with trustee Fields.
Nothing, thank you.
Trustee Wagner.
I just want to say, since it was announced and then confirmed again in tonight's meeting, thank you to Congressman Wahlberg and staff again for the ongoing support to mitigate the costs of the unfunded lead line mandate on our residents, and that $4.1 million in direct spending for the village is going to have a generational impact on the costs and quality of life to the residents of Vicksburg. So thank you again.
Trustee Reister.
I'm all good.
Trustee Cox.
To echo what my trustee Wagner just said, the foresight to even go after the funds, to contact our representative, is indicative of us being on the ball as trustees, doing our job, and the village manager to know that there are funds out there, to seek them out and to obtain them and then utilize it. So just thank you for that, and there's a lot more of that out there, so let's just continue to do it. Thank you.
Trustee Kissinger.
All good.
I got you right, Trent? Ms. Fields? My right-hand guy's giving me bogus information.
He never forgets me.
He wanted me to look away from him so I'd forget him again tonight. That's what he was. President Pro Tem Keller.
Actually, I'm pretty good, other than I attended was at Warner Vineyards last Friday night, and saw Yachtly Crew, which is a yacht rock band. Hey, they were awesome.
Yachtly Crew?
Yeah, they were awesome. It was. I mean, it was all music that I grew up with as a kid. But it was a really neat place, and you know, so maybe at some point down the road when it was awesome. I mean, and it was people my age and a lot older that were there. They're not cheap though. They're pretty expensive, but I'm just saying, I mean, watching what was going on there and then envisioning down the road what could possibly happen here, it was kind of cool. So just letting everybody know it. They got a neat setup there.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, just real quick, those that this was a separate meeting from our special meeting earlier tonight. I just want to acknowledge Mr. Mallory. His peers reviewed him at 4.6 out of 5, and he exceeds our expectations as a village manager. It's going to be hard over the next few years to replace him, but we're going to be doing our due diligence. A couple of things that really have, Jim has brought to the table, and it's been one of the most satisfying things that I've been involved in, was the Citizens Academy. To see that many people take part and want to know what we do here and what happens behind the scenes and how we, what rules and obligations we have. The housing improvement grant, I've had an opportunity to sign 22 checks now. We've spent almost $400,000 of grant money to those in need to help them with their homes, whether it be heating, windows, doors, security. That's been quite rewarding. Of course, thanks to U.S. Congressman Tim Walberg. But earlier we were talking about the grant money that's out there. But you have to realize that we have to have our house in order to even get looked at. So, a lot of what grants we've gotten is because of Jim and his staff, doing the due diligence, but putting us in a position to succeed, right? By doing the planning, the CIP programs, paying cash for everything. When the other governmental entities see what we do here, they know we have our poop in a group, so to speak. And that goes a long way to getting us what we asked for. So thanks for that. Honored to have Mr. Wagner down front and foremost, cutting the ribbon with the new photography shop, Mary Horde Photography. Linda, excuse me. Got the Linda Horde Photography. Got her place opened up, really excited about that. And, finally, I'll say it again, I'll keep saying it. I laid the gauntlet down with the fire board at the last meeting. My expectation was to have a new authority put together by the end of the year. So that's why Carl is going at it. So, no, thank you, Carl, for everything you're doing there. It's a service to this community that we all take for granted, but if it was gone, we would know it. So keep up the good work. I appreciate that. And that's it. Barring any other conversations, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you all so much.